So I'm divorced. I will freely admit that I'm most at fault for the divorce. I never should have been married, but hindsight is 20 out of 20, as they say. My own family is a crap show and a half. I've known my ex's family for the majority of my life. When we split up, some of his family kept in contact with me, including his mom and one of his sisters. It's nothing crazy, but we grab a drink from time to time, and his mom just checks in to see how I'm doing. Knowing how my family is, she worries about me, even though I tell her not to. We split a few years ago, and the divorce was final more than a year and a half ago. Despite me being the asshole in my marriage, my ex doesn't have any crazy bitterness, and we have a decent relationship now. In the years since we split, he's never had an issue with his family staying in contact with me. I know for sure because I've asked. Enter a new girlfriend. They've been together for 6 months or so. She's 27, and he's sneaking up on 40. Not that big of a deal, but she's not a fan of the fact that he's been married before. Actually, I'm the second ex-wife. As they've gotten more serious, she's taken extreme exception to the fact that his mom and sister in particular still keep in contact with me. I'm petty and laughed my ass off the first time she came at me about it all. Privately, I talked with his mom and sister though, and told them I totally understand if they need to cut contact to keep the peace. They assured me that they do what they want to do and not what the girlfriend of a hot minute demands. Since I am still in contact with them, she's taken the mature approach of posting all my misdeeds on social media, some of which have impacts on people that don't deserve it. Well, maybe it's a little, but in any case, it's rocking a lot of boats. 3 weeks ago, I was out with friends at a bar. New girlfriend was there with my ex. She was livid and demanded I leave immediately. I gave the appropriate response and laughed, turned around and continued my conversation. She proceeded to hit me from behind and smashed my head into the bar top. I lost consciousness for a few, and when I came to, she was being pulled away and cops were being called. I declined charges at the time, but was told if I changed my mind to contact them. So, since she's being petty and posting everything about me, I'm thinking maybe those charges sound a whole lot better. My ex is begging me not to, saying he will rein her in and get her to stop, but man, I want to pull the trigger now and just do it. As I've admitted, I'm not what? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Press charges for sure. Facebook won't do much, but you can print them out to show a pattern of aggression with her. It'll reinforce the assault charge and might get you a restraining order against her. Original poster replied, even if what she's posting is the truth, she's not posting lies. But all the same, it's things from years ago and causing a lot of undue stress for people, including me. Commenter 2. Your ex-husband here is kinda hilarious. I'm imagining he's standing in front of you, with you having the biggest black eye from getting your face smashed into the table by her and having the audacity to basically say, I can fix her. Original poster replied, this makes me smile because it is kinda like him. Imagine a hot, massive 6 feet 4 inches former football player with the softest heart ever. He sees the best in everyone to his own detriment. He's really a great guy and deserves so much better. I don't know this girl's story, but it's a safe bet he thinks he can fix her too. Commenter 3. Husband has really not upgraded his game. He really needs therapy to stop with the toxic women and yellies. Original poster replied, lol. I'm pretty sure I told him this exact thing after the incident. Somebody asked, why didn't you press charges? Original poster replied, to be fair, it's not for her. I feel guilty about what I did to my ex. I was definitely the butthole to him, so I didn't press charges against him. But things have started to go off the rails since then. It wasn't for her, it was for my ex. He's ultimately a good guy that always wants to fix people that are in some way broken, hence our doomed marriage. He knew going into it that I had issues, but he cared and wanted to give it a shot. I don't know much of anything about this girl because frankly I didn't feel like it concerned me. But maybe he felt she was his next one to fix, and it's not going so well. Original poster replied on the relationship with her ex-mother-in-law. Original poster replied, my ex-mother-in-law is one of the best humans. She's long been the mother I always wished I had. Even when I was the asshole, she called me on it, but still cared. I've told her and my ex that I understand and will bow out at any time, but she's still there for me. Original poster clarifies on being involved with her ex's family. I'm honestly not involved in my ex's life. My relationship with his sister predates our relationship, and his mom only checks in on my life and fills me in on her friend gossip. And my ex is fine with this. We were friends long before our romantic relationship, and while we aren't friends, so to speak, anymore, there isn't animosity. Somebody asked, "Did you know the girlfriend and if she's apologetic?" Original poster replied, "I honestly know next to nothing about this girl. While my ex moved past all our issues and we are good now, I don't feel the need to find out all the details on his new woman. She was apparently highly intoxicated, and he claims it's highly out of character for her to be physically violent. But the pettiness now is just too much." A commenter asked, "Did you have any kids with your ex-husband?" Original poster replied, "We have no kids, but he has one with his first wife. They don't live nearby anymore, so her ire has been directed at me. First wife and I are very good friends, if you can believe that." Someone asked, "How did the girlfriend know about your past with the ex?" Original poster replied, "Part of some therapy I was in. I had a journal where I wrote about things. I stupidly forgot it when I moved, and it was with his things. She found it. She found therapy journals I forgot about and left behind. She's posting things from those. Update next day. First, thanks everyone for the feedback. Tried to read as much as I could and really appreciate some of the insights. So today I learned my ex actually did split with the girlfriend this past weekend. After reading many of the comments, I decided I was going to go ahead with the charges. I gave my ex-mother-in-law a call just to let her know, and so she could let my ex know, so he had a heads up. I don't know or want to know the details of the breakup, but he ended it and told his mom that he understands if I wanted to press charges and that he never should have asked me not to at the moment. I spoke with the officer today, and that's done. Likely little will happen to her, but at least there are consequences. I had a lot of people asking why we divorced in comments and direct messages. Without getting too far into it, I've always been someone that didn't believe in monogamy or believe it was something I was capable of. My ex was aware of this going into our relationship and was on board for many years on our own definition of our marriage and relationship. Over the years, I could tell that it weighed on him, so I tried to change, believe in the things he did, but ultimately, it just didn't work. I ended the marriage in large part because he wanted more kids, and I did not. I wasn't an angel, and the end was a little messy, but we came to a good place. Thanks again for the messages, and even for some of the funny, terrible ones. Those made me laugh more than they should have. Top comments. Commenter 1. Very happy you're pressing charges. People like that depend on folks not wanting to deal with it, so never suffer consequences. When finally someone, you in this case, is brave enough or mad enough to involve police, the offender has no record and gets a lighter penalty. Thanks to you, if she does it again, things will start to get a little sticky for her. Good for you. And good for you and your ex being able to get on good terms. Commenter 2. So glad to hear you are pressing charges. Also, no one's business why you and ex broke up. Wasn't relevant to the story, and it sounds like you hold a lot of shame and guilt over it. You two just weren't compatible. Get yourself into therapy to deal with your feelings about it. You shouldn't live the rest of your life beating yourself up over what happened between you two. My daughter Casey, 17, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy her with our family budget. My other daughter, Alana, 16, has attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, recently got her driver's license, and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg. There was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't exist and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for her school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, "Well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced." I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm on our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but as a parent, I need to look out for all my children, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work, even if what you're asking for is unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Now we move to the wife's post. Me and my husband have 2 daughters, 16 who we'll call Alana and 17 who I'll call Casey. Casey has held down a steady job for over a year now and was able to get herself a car. Now, she got this car right as Alana passed her own driver's test, so there was a little issue between who was going to be driving. After a little persuasion, Casey did allow Alana to use her car so long as somebody else paid for gas. We told her that wasn't going to cut it. Alana doesn't have the money for that, and it's her car, her responsibility to keep gas in it and keep it on the road. Here's where it gets difficult. Alana wrecked about a month ago. Luckily, she was fine aside from a broken wrist and a mild concussion, but Casey was fuming the entire time and seemed to have this expectation that we would be replacing her car. Her and my husband got into it, and she threw her arms up like a child and just stopped speaking to us. We coaxed her into going to family therapy with us, though it wasn't productive, as she and the therapist agreed that it'd be best to maintain the reduced contact until she's paid back. Here's the problem. That car was $15 grand. She saved up every penny for a year for that car. She'd ask us about twice a week if we changed our mind, and obviously the answer was no. But that was the only thing she'd say to us. It didn't seem to bother my husband, and he kept saying she'll get over it, until last week, she packed some things and had my mother come and get her. She's been staying at her grandmother's for a little over a week now, and she gave me a good earful. Whatever Casey told her worked, because earlier today, my husband and I were informed we had 30 days to replace the car in full, or she was taking us to court. I think my husband is admirable in wanting to stand his ground, but the way I'm looking at it, we have 2 options. And I am sick of my daughter not talking to me because of crap that is not my fault. Alana has been a wreck. She's already battling severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and now she's shaking at the thought of having to appear in court. So I sat them both down and said, we have 2 options. We can suck it up, pay $15,000 and have our daughter and sister back, and Alana will just have to buck up and work. Or we can let my dad sue my husband and I on Casey's behalf and almost certainly lose. We spoke to 4 different firms, and all 4 echoed similar sentiment that it would probably cost us close to triple in the end to bring it to court and fight it there. So that's when I told my husband that I am not going 30 grand further into debt for him to hold the pettiest grudge. He's saying that I'm being manipulative by holding this whole situation over his and Alana's heads. I'm not saying it's not part my fault. All I said was that no matter what, at the end of the day, we owe Casey, and he needs to just accept that. We can afford $15,000 to replace the car, but if we have to dish out double that just to lose in court anyway, I'm divorcing him before he makes that mistake. In either case, I'm done not supporting both of my daughters. We've tried reasoning with Casey, and it has resulted in nothing. We lost this one. Am I the a-hole for trying to get my husband to accept it? I feel I may be, just for how long I was being a passenger, no pun intended, in the situation, and for threatening my husband with divorce. I don't think we did anything that wrong, but I'm willing to admit when we made some mistakes, and we have to make up for it somehow. Some relevant comments. Somebody said, original poster and her husband need to get Alana to pay Casey back for damaging her car. So original poster replied, what is she supposed to do? Magically come up with thousands of dollars to pay my oldest back? It's not a matter of not wanting to hold people accountable. It simply is not realistic. I also want to state on record, I was very against Casey getting a car that nice as her first. She never listened. Insurance would have likely paid for some if she would have just put her sister as an approved driver on the plan. It would not have been difficult. But no, it's not Alana's fault that she has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's not like she wrecked on purpose. Another said, Casey saved up $15,000 and didn't pay the $300 per month to get insurance? Nope. Sounds like Alana wrote this and doesn't know how insurance works. Alana, pay for the gas if you drive the car. Original poster replied, she had insurance, but they really screwed us over because Casey didn't approve Alana as a driver on the plan. That was a big determining factor in us deciding to hold firm. If Alana would have been approved on the plan, we would have covered the remainder on what the insurance was offering. But this is the result of Casey's decision. Hence, I agreed with my husband that it's fully her responsibility. I just didn't expect her to sue us out of nowhere like this, and I especially didn't expect my parents to be enabling this behavior. What's in her best interest might suck now, but she'll learn from it in the future. My husband's been fuming for weeks over this, and a lot of you are saying he even made a post, but if they ruled not the a whole, then he wasn't telling the full story. Alana broke her arm in that wreck, and all Casey has cared about the past month is her car. That's the genesis behind the family therapy, and I'm very concerned that so many people are supporting her entitled behavior. Original poster replied on what she and her husband do for Casey. We feed her, we clothe her. We were going to send her to college. She had a place to park that car because of us. And oh, by the way, my husband got under there and fixed a tie rod about a month after she got it. For all of you saying about how awful he is, he's not. He loves Casey, we both do. But I didn't see her putting that car up in the air to redo the brakes and fix the air conditioner when she hit a deer. That was all her father did. I figured that allowing her sister to also drive their car was a more than fair ask for all he did, and is a big reason why I supported him. I just hate that I apparently can't support him and love my daughters. If that's the resolution you all want, forget it. Case is going to take this to court, and then when she loses, she's going to throw another fit. But that's better than dishing out $15,000 for a car we're not even going to drive. It's not lost on me that we owe her. We just don't owe her that much. She'll come around when she realizes how the world works. Update 3 weeks later. It's been a few weeks since I last updated, and I want to start out by addressing a few things that opened my eyes a little bit in regards to this situation. The first thing being my husband's post, which came well before my own. He and I fought over that. I truthfully didn't love that he used real names. However, when I found out he posted, for the sake of transparency, I used real names as well. But, with that being said, I went through with the difficult decision to serve him divorce papers. To really abbreviate things, I went to therapy, as lots of you suggested, and I was assessed with a diagnosis for an obsessive-compulsive disorder in my second session. And in my third session, we discussed the whole car situation, and my personal therapist explained it to me in a way that made it hard to not feel awful for Case. The discussion we had covered quite a lot, but the common denominator in everything that's been going wrong has in large part been my husband. He's the reason Casey shared her car, he's the reason Alana got hurt driving on her own, and he's the reason we're set for court in barely a week and still don't have an attorney. And me? I don't know what I've been doing, but it hasn't been being a mother, if I'm honest. One of you asked me, straight up, why I was being a passenger, and I just don't have a good answer. I let my parents know about the divorce, and they were a little concerned. But what I didn't expect was for Casey to reach out. The last time we talked was mostly her and my husband butting heads. I really thought she was about to turn me on a spit, but I've never heard her cry like that, at least not since she was much younger. I make a little bit more than my husband, but finding an apartment was brutal, especially with Alana wanting to come with me. I don't think I was clear enough about how badly I wanted to pay Casey back before. But I do. Most of my money is in joint savings, though, so there isn't much I can afford, but my husband wasn't going to back down. I won't lie, I was selfish. I begged Casey to drop my name from this suit. I told her I would pay what I could afford to right this second, which wasn't much in comparison. And she told me that it wasn't so much the car or the value on its own she wanted back. It was the security to have something of her own. And she listed off probably dozens of instances where Alana got first pick over her, and it was very hard to refute. She told me that losing that much money sucked, which I fully understand. But the bigger loss to her was that her first big girl purchase, which a lot of friends and family were excited about, was now going to be remembered as a family-ending disaster. She told me that she knows I can't replace that. We agreed to breakfast next week in joint therapy, us two, and her only condition was that I don't try at any point to save him from the suit, which I agreed to. Alana came to me even before my last post, saying she only drove so far because my now ex-husband pressured her into picking up the grocery order early for something he wanted to make. This also changed my perspective. I was under the impression that she was doing her own thing, but even my husband owned up to that, which ground my gears. But I put it together. Illegal driver in an expensive car, not insured, and under pressure? Alana drove, but I've come to realize that my ex-husband seems to have a tendency to like to pressure people. He's pressured me a lot too. He probably pressured Casey into letting Alana drive at all. Which brings me back to her, and we finished our talk with better terms. I owe her so much more than breakfast out, but I'm just beyond grateful she's even willing to look at me. I've seen a lot of bold assumptions that I hate Casey and that I vastly favor Alana, but I only feel the second part was ever accurate. I've never hated my own daughter. I was frustrated with her over something I've come to realize wasn't her fault. As of now, I'm just adjusting to a much quieter place, and to my phone buzzing nonstop. I've only been moved out for 5 days, and Alana has seemed so much less anxious, to me at least. It's odd because my place now isn't anywhere near what the house is, but I think last night was probably the first time I've slept 8 hours since high school. Today was productive, and for Casey. I'll admit it, I hope she wins. I hope she gets her car and then some. As for the divorce, I don't want much material. I won't say no to it. I'd rather just have my share of joint savings and try to tackle my own issues, of which I guess I have more than I would have been willing to admit a month ago. I know I'm going to get pelted most likely, but I want you to know I'm thankful. The internet is mean, but it tells the truth. And however this turns out, it's largely your comments that helped me see what I was doing wrong and who was enabling those things. And most importantly, how I could stop it. It's times like this where my dad would tell me I'm not lucky, I'm privileged, and I think that applies here. I'm privileged that my daughter didn't just laugh, even though she could and arguably should have. That's the update. I'll update whenever Case and I meet, barring she's comfortable with it, and then you probably won't hear from me until the whole suit and divorce is over and done with. I just wanted Reddit to know. I hear you all, and I wish I could have seen the reason when I first posted. I'm frustrated reading my own comments. Therapy is a powerful thing.